Today we have a special treat for you. Jeri Anne from Southern Natural is going to show us step by step how to make homemade goat soap. And let me tell you, I got one of these for a gift and I have fallen in love with it. So this is a soap recipe you're not going to want to miss.
Hey, Provident Preppers, I'm Jonathan.
And I'm Kylene, and today we are thrilled because we get to introduce you to Jeri Anne. And I only met Jeri Anne recently because over Christmas, I was gifted a bar of this rosemary mint soap, and I fell in love with it. It was seriously amazing. And so I actually reached out to her to find out more about this soap because I loved it so much. And Jeri Anne, I really admire you because you had a problem and you fixed that problem and then you made it into a business that could support your family. Tell us a little bit about your journey.
Okay, so I struggled with eczema for 12 years and the insides of my hands were pretty much a rash that whole time. It was so bad I had a hard time doing my normal everyday things like bathing my kids, cleaning my house, doing dishes. So I started searching and I learned about goat milk soap. I started using it and it made a huge improvement in my skin. I was thrilled. But several months later, my husband and I were trying to figure out how we could increase our income. I knew I didn't want to leave my children. And I started praying and asking God to help me to know what I could do at home with my family to earn extra money. And one particular morning, I prayed that again, and instantly the words popped in my mind, and I heard, make goat milk soap and sell it. And I was so excited because I knew that did not come from me. And I said out loud, that is a great idea. And it really has been a great idea. My products, my soap, my natural lotion have blessed many people's lives that have had, sensitive skin issues. And plus our business has been a huge blessing to me and my husband and many of our extended family members who have worked for us and still do.
And now Jeri Anne is going to share with us a recipe for her goat milk soap so that you can make it at home. It's the same thing that they make at Southern Natural, but you can make it any way that you want with this basic recipe. So here we go. Thanks, Jeri Anne.
I'm Jeri Anne Huffstutler, owner of Southern Natural, and I'm going to be sharing with you the process for making natural soap. Before we get started, I want to talk with you a little bit about the benefits of natural soap versus regular commercial store-bought soap. Natural soap is generally made with natural fats and oils such as olive oil, coconut oil, shea butter, and castor oil. And there are many other different butters and oils that you can use to make natural soap. But when you use these natural oils, it makes a very moisturizing bar of soap that is very gentle on your skin when you bathe with it. At Southern Natural, we add goat milk to our natural soap because it adds additional moisturizing properties to the final bar soap. And goat milk has a lot of natural nutrients that are very beneficial for your skin. When you make soap of any kind, you end up with soap and glycerin. That glycerin is a very valuable part of the soap because it's a humectant and it helps your skin to retain its natural moisture. Commercial soap makers, when they make soap, they run it through a process where they strip the natural glycerin out. A couple reasons why commercial soap companies strip the natural glycerin out of the soap is because it shortens the cure time of the soap. You have to cure your soap before you use it. And it also lengthens the shelf life of the soap. Regular commercial soaps are detergent-based, and so when you bathe with them, they oftentimes leave your skin very dry, itchy, and irritated. And this is not good for people that have very sensitive skin. So you can clearly see from the differences I've talked about with natural soap versus your regular commercial soaps that natural soap is a much better option, especially for those who struggle with dry, itchy skin or any kind of a sensitive skin issue. I hope that you can find some value and benefit in some way from what I'm sharing with you today. Before we get started with making our soap, we need to talk about a few safety rules. When you are working with sodium hydroxide, which is more commonly known as lye, one of the first things that you will want are some goggles or safety glasses. Sodium hydroxide or lye is very caustic in its pure form. If it gets on your skin, it will burn it, and you definitely don't want to get it in your eyes. So a good pair of safety glasses or goggles are a must. You want to wear a long sleeve shirt, long pants, and closed-toed shoes. You'll also want to wear some gloves to protect your hands. It's highly recommended that you wear a mask whenever you're mixing lye with a liquid because it will heat up and let off steam that you don't want to breathe in. It can be very irritating to mucous membranes and to your lungs. When you are mixing your lye, you want to make sure that you're in a well-ventilated area, and you don't want to make soap when you have kids and pets around. You don't want any curious kids getting into your lye and spilling it on them, or any pets knocking your lye solution over. It's a good idea to go ahead and label your container that you're going to be mixing your lye in. Last of all, don't let these safety rules keep you from making soap. As long as you are cautious and you take the necessary precautions, you will be just fine. And you may be wondering, do I really need lye when I make soap? And the answer is yes, you cannot get soap without it. If you're using a well-balanced recipe, in the final bar of soap, there will be no lye left in the bar, but you will have soap and glycerin, which is so awesome for your skin. What items do you need when you make natural soap? First of all, you're going to need some containers for mixing your lye in, and you're going to need a bowl of some sort or other to mix your soap in. And you will need other containers to pour and measure out other ingredients. You definitely need a scale because you need your ingredients to be precise. You'll need a thermometer, and I prefer a digital one, to check temperatures. Your lye and your oils need to be at a certain temperature, usually between 100 to 110 degrees. You'll definitely want an immersion blender. You can hand stir the soap, but it would take you hours and hours. But with an immersion blender, you can get the job done in seconds to minutes. So it's a very good piece of equipment to have when you're making natural soap. You will want some stirring utensils. When you are trying to figure out what you're going to mix your lye in, these pitchers work wonderful. You need a heavy plastic that can withstand a lot of heat. You can use a glass bowl, you can use stainless steel. Never ever use tin or aluminum because the lye can react with it and can let off toxic gases that you do not want to breathe in. The next thing that we need when we're making soap is we need to think about what kind of mold are we going to pour our soap up in. You can use silicone molds, which are wonderful. You don't have to line them. The bars are already formed here, so you don't have to cut the soap. This is another mold that we're going to be using today. This will make a slab of soap that we will need to cut. And you can even use little containers. I bought this at the Dollar Tree or at Dollar General. So just any little container like this. You can also use wooden molds. When we get done making soap, we'll give you a tour of our shop and show you the equipment that we use in our soap making process. You need to line your molds. If you're going to use a wooden mold or a mold made out of a material such as this, you have to line it or you will never get your soap out. If you use a silicone mold, you don't have to line it. It will just come out automatically. This is freezer paper, and it's a wonderful thing to line your molds with. You definitely want to use the shiny side up. That will be the side that's touching the soap. And to get it to stick into your molds, you can just simply melt some Vaseline and paint it in with a paintbrush. Okay, it's time to make soap. Let's get started. The first thing you'll want to do is you will want to mix your lye. You can use several different liquids when you're making soap. The most common liquids used are distilled water and milk. And you could use goat milk, sheep milk, camel milk, any kind of milk. You don't want to use tap water because tap water has minute impurities in it that can behave poorly or react poorly in the soap. When you're mixing your lye, one thing to remember, you always pour your lye into your water, never your water into your lye. If you pour your water into your lye, it can create excessive heat and it can volcano out of your container, and you don't want that to happen. Pour your lye into your water and do it slowly so it doesn't splash on you and get in your eye. If you happen to get lye in your eye, you need to make sure that you rinse your eye for 15 minutes in cold water and that you seek proper medical attention. Lye is something you need to be very cautious about because it could cause blindness if you don't get the right medical attention. This is a great spoon that I like to use, but you can use any hard plastic, stainless steel to mix your lye in your water. So you just want to keep stirring your lye until it's completely dissolved. And once it's completely dissolved, then you can set it to the side and it needs to cool down to between 100 and 110 degrees. So now we need to get our oils measured and weighed and melted so that we can have them prepared and ready to combine with our lye. These were my solid oils that I already measured out and melted just to kind of speed things up. Now we will measure out our liquid oils. And when you're measuring out your oils, you want to make sure that you get the right exact measurements so that your soap will turn out consistent every time. When you put your measuring bowl on the scale, always tear it out before you start pouring your oils up in it or any of your ingredients. Now we need to combine our solid oils with our liquid oils and stir them together. Once you stir them together, then you'll want to use your thermometer to see what temperature you're at. You don't want a soap with temperatures higher than 110 degrees, but you can go a lot cooler than that. Soap at higher temperatures, your soap will go through a process called gel phase, and that's just part of the saponification process. When you pour your soap up after you first mix it, it's opaque, and as it sits a little bit and starts to heat up, it will go through gel phase, which makes it turn translucent and appear to be a little bit dark. If your temperatures are colder, your soap may go through a bit of gel phase, but not completely. It doesn't affect the quality of your soap, it just affects the appearance of your soap. And so you may have a soap bar that has two different colors, a lighter color and a darker color in it, and it's because part of it went through gel phase and part of it didn't. So the next step in our recipe is to add goat milk. And I like to add it in a powder form and mix it with my oils. The next step is to mix our lye in with our oils. We need to get our goggles back on. When you pour your lye into your oil milk mixture, you want to pour it in slowly so it doesn't splash on you or splash in your face. You can stir it slowly, and you'll notice when I put the immersion blender in here and start stirring, it will thicken up fairly quickly. You can see that the mixture already is starting to get a little bit thicker just by pouring that in and stirring it slowly. I'm going to give it a little stir. And I'm going to add some scent. This is a blend of essential oils. You can use essential oils or fragrance oils, whatever you prefer. And online, wherever you buy your fragrance oils or your essential oils, they will have a fragrance calculator that you can put your recipe through, and it will tell you how much scent you need to use so that you'll use the right amount and it will be skin safe. We stir with the immersion blender until we reach trace, and you'll know your soap is at trace when it has a thin pudding consistency. You can see it's kind of thickening up a little bit more since I've been stirring it. Let's stir it a little bit more. Another way to tell that you're at trace is you can drizzle a little bit of the soap mixture on top, and if it forms a little indentation, or you can see that it's staying on top, that's, you know that your soap has traced. So our soap has reached trace. You can see that it's a thicker consistency. It's like a thin pudding. And so now we're going to pour it up into our mold. You can use silicone utensils as well, and this is a silicone spatula that works really well for getting all that last little bit of awesome soap out of your mixing bowl. And if you want, you can kind of spread it out. And then after you pour your soap up, it's good to cover it up so it can hold its heat. And you can do that with a towel or a piece of cardboard or a piece of wood. Your soap will need to sit in the mold for 1 to 3 days before you unmold it and cut it. Usually 1 day is sufficient for a small batch, but you just don't want to let the soap get too hard to where if you put it through a cutter that has wire or strings, that it breaks the strings. When you mix oils and butters with a lye solution, it will go through a process called saponification. 97% of that saponification process happens right when you initially make the soap, but then once you unmold the soap and cut it into bars, you need to set it in an area where it can dry and let it cure. The other 3% of that saponification process happens as it sits on a shelf and cures for 4 to 6 weeks. Here at Southern Natural, we like to let our soap cure for 8 weeks. It makes a more mild, gentle bar of soap and a harder bar of soap. Now it's time to clean up. Make sure that you get a warm soapy rag and you wipe off all surface area that you were working on to make sure that there's not any lye spills or any raw soap that needs to be cleaned up, and clean all of your utensils and your pots up really good. Now that we've made our soap, this is the exciting part. We get to unmold it and cut it. And this is what it looks like in the mold. And the reason it's dark is because I used a scent that has vanilla in it. And so this soap will actually end up turning really brown once it has time to cure. Now we are unmolding our soap, and this particular mold has to be taken apart to get the soap out. One thing that you need to know is that you don't have to have any special mold to make soap. You could use a shoebox, and you don't have to have any fancy cutters. Just a kitchen knife will be just fine to cut your soap with. So when you are unmolding your soap, you'll want to wear some gloves because the soap hasn't completely gone through the saponification process. Earlier when we were making it, I mentioned that when you first make the soap, it goes through 97% of the saponification process right then. And then the other 3% happens as it sits and cures. So you'll want to wear some gloves because it won't feel good on your skin right now. From here, we'll just take the freezer paper off of the soap. We're going to run it through. This is a cutter that will cut the soap into logs, and then we will take the logs and cut them into little small tiny bars. Now we're going to cut the log into some little bars. These will make little tiny hotel-sized bars of soap. We're just going to set our soaps where they can dry and cure for 8 weeks. And actually, this size bar is perfect if you're going to be traveling and you want to take your awesome soap with you. So for the last log that we cut, I'm going to use a kitchen knife just to show you that it's so easy just to cut it with a simple knife that you already have at home. And you can make these bars however big you want. The thicker you make them, the longer it's going to take for them to go all the way through the curing process where they get hard enough. But you can make them whatever size you want. That's the beauty of making homemade soap. There's so many things that you can do just like you like. There we have it. Here's all of our cut soap. And now we're going to let it sit for 8 weeks before we use it and enjoy it. Here at Southern Natural, we make our soap on a much larger scale than what I just showed you in the video. We order our oils in these 55-gallon drums, and we use really awesome, we use palm oil, olive oil, and coconut oil in our soap. This is our lye tank. So we mix our lye up in this tank and we let it cool for several days before we start our soap making process. This is one of our molds. This mold right here makes 336 bars. And when we unmold it, it goes on this piece of equipment and it gets pushed up under here and we cut it into logs. And so our logs then get put on this soap cutter. So this is a perfect example of why you don't want to wait too long to cut your soap, because it can break your wires on your soap cutter. This one needs to be fixed. But we put a log on this after it goes through our big cutter. We put the logs on here and then we cut the logs into bars. And then the bars are put on these trays so that they can dry. And we let them sit here for 8 weeks before we sell them. So it's quite a process, something that doesn't happen overnight, but it's definitely wonderful soap for your skin and well worth it. So that's it. That's the whole soap making process. It's not bad. I hope you enjoyed my video, and I hope you feel inspired to try goat milk soap, whether you make it on your own or you buy products that are already made. If you'd like to try goat milk soap before you venture out and make it on your own, we have wonderful products here at Southern Natural. We definitely have goat milk soap. We have bath salts, natural lotion, and even wonderful lip balm.
Thank you so much, Jeri Anne. This is wonderful. I learned how to make soap a long time ago, but it seemed like this very complicated process, and I decided I'd never wanted to ever make soap, but you make it look very doable, and we appreciate that. We appreciate you sharing that. And tell us where we can go to see all of your products and be able to purchase some.
Okay, well, we have a website and you can find us at www.southernnatural.com. And we also sell our products on Amazon. So you can find us there as well. And just search for Southern Natural and our products will pop up.
And now I'm going to put you on the spot here a little bit because I was talking to Kylene and I'd really like some soap that smells like either new tires or fresh cut lumber. Wondering if you make anything like that and if that's something on your horizon for some future product.
Well, I probably will never make a soap that smells like fresh cut tires because I don't think very many people would love that. But I do have one that I think you would love, and it's called Eucalyptus Grove. And it has fir and cedarwood and peppermint and rosemary. It just has a blend of essential oils and it smells very woodsy, and it's one of my favorites.
That sounds like we're going down a little bit.
I think I actually have one, John. We're going to have to let you try it.
I love the rosemary mint, and we have one called Spa Fusion, and it's got peppermint, spearmint, lavender, rosemary. We make a plain lavender soap, which is our top selling soap. And I mean, lavender is a classic and so many people love it. Yeah. So we just have a lot of different soaps and we love all of them. They're all wonderful.
And I did just plant a seed. You might, at some point wake up one morning and go, new tire smell is what we need in our next batch of soap. So, maybe it'll happen.
That's funny. I don't know that I want my whole shop smelling like brand new tires.
All right.
All right. Now for our audience, the question of the day. If you could create any soap that you wanted, any scent besides the new tires, what would it be? Comment below. And thanks for being part of the solution.